Yes. All right.
Hi Ashwath, hi Alok.
Hi, Navnita ji.
Hi everyone.
Yes. Okay, we'll begin with the prayers. Mm. ॐ गणानां त्वा गणपतिगं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमं ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पत आनशृण्वन्नोतिभिः सीदसादनं श्रीमहागणपतये नमः। ॐ भूर्भुवस्सुवः तत्सवितुर्भरेण्यं भर्गोः देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवस्सुवः तत्सवितुर्भरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवस्सुवः तत्सवितुर्भरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। बुद्धिर्बलं यशोधैर्यं निर्भयत्वम् अरोगताम् अजाढ्यं वाक्पटुत्वं च हनूमत्स्मरणात् भवेत्। कूजन्तं राम रामेति मधुरं मधुराक्षरम् आरुह्य कविताशाखां वन्दे वाल्मीकिकोकिलं। श्रीराम राम रामेति रमे रामे मनोरमे सहस्रनाम तत्तुल्यं रामनामवरानने। निःश्रेण्यो ब्रह्मलोकस्य वाग्देव्याः कर्णकुण्डले धर्मद्रुममहामूले वाल्मीकिव्यासयोः कृतिः। Welcome everyone to the session 6 of Ramayana contemplation. So we had ended with the chapter 1 of 8. I mean chapter 8 of 1. Yeah. So the 8th sub chapter within the first chapter is what we ended in the last session. So today we will be restarting from the chapter 9. Chapter 9 of 1. Yeah. Okay. Is my screen? Oh, sorry, I've not shared my screen yet. Anna.
Yeah, not yet.
Yeah. Yes. Is my screen visible?
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
yes.
All right, all right. Okay, chapter 1 of 9. Any volunteers to read, or shall I read today?
I think you can read today, Rahul.
I'll read, yeah, chapter 1 of 9. So I'll keep this screen up here, and I will read from the book. Just just in case there are any important footnotes, I'll just have a look at that and share that. Oh, somebody else joined. Sush. Hi, Sushmita. Good evening. Rashmi Bhatt. Rashmi, good evening.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening. Yes. Okay, we're just starting, Iga. Okay.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, chapter 1, subchapter 9. Okay. Yeah. Urged by the king Sumantra, urged by the king, Sumantra replied in these words. Okay. So again, just a quick for the benefit of everyone. In the last chapter that we read through, there was a detailed description of Dasharatha's 8 ministers, all of them, right? If you remember, just a quick recap. So he had 8 ministers, and we also discussed what Dasharatha exactly means, right? So the Dasha, 10 directions. He had conquered the 10 directions, and it would be the 5 Panchendriyas and 5 Jnanendriyas, all of those. So we are continuing from there. So just the last part of it is that Rishi Shringa, the Rishi called Rishi Shringa. So he was offered, right? He was offered Shanta, right? Shanta was the daughter of Dasharatha, right? So we had stopped there. After at this, Dasharatha was delighted and replied, "How can Rishishringa be brought here? You should tell me in detail." Yeah, from there we start. Chapter 1, subchapter 9. Yes. Urged by the king, Sumantra replied in these words. So, with your ministers, hear about how Rishishringa can be brought here. The advisors and priests told Romapada, "We have thought of a means so that there is no harm. Devoted to austerities and studying, Rishishringa wanders around in the forest. He is inexperienced about women, worldly matters, and pleasure. Excessive addiction to the senses causes turbulence in the minds of men. We must make efforts to bring him to the city quickly. Let beautiful and ornamented courtesans go there. Let them honor and seduce him in many kinds of ways and bring him here. On hearing this, the king agreed to what the priest had said. Accordingly, the priests and ministers made the arrangements. Hearing the instructions, the best among courtesans entered that great forest. They stationed themselves close to the hermitage and made efforts to show themselves. The rishi's patient son always resided in the hermitage. He was always content with his father and never ventured outside the hermitage. Since his birth, the ascetic had never seen anyone else, woman, man, or any other being, from either the city or the countryside. Wandering around as he willed, on an occasion, he arrived at that spot, okay, where the courtesans were basically. So Vibhandaka's son arrived there and saw the courtesans. The women were splendidly attired and were singing in melodious voices. All of them approached the Rishi's son and spoke these words: O Brahmana, who are you? Why do you conduct yourself like this? We wish to know this. You are roaming around alone in this desolate and terrible forest? Tell us. In that forest, those women possessed desirable forms, and these were forms he had not seen earlier. Affection was generated in him, and he desired to tell them about his father and himself. My father is Vibhandaka, and I am his son. I am known as Rishishringa because of an act that happened on earth. So, here the footnote is there are different stories about Rishishringa's birth, such as he being the son of Vibhandaka and Urvashi. Urvashi is one of those Apsaras, right? Apsaras, Rambha, Urvashi, Menaka, all of those. So, in some, not all of these accounts, he is born from a doe. A doe is the female of a deer, right? Which explains the horns. So, because he had horns, right? Vibhandaka was descended from the sage Kashyapa. Okay, so those are the footnotes for that 122 there. Okay, so, O beautiful ones, our hermitage is not far from here. I wish to honor all of you there, following the prescribed rites. Hearing the words of the Rishi's son, all of them desired to see the hermitage, and all of them went there with him. When they had gone there, the Rishi's son worshipped them. Here are Arghya, Padya, roots, and fruits for you. All of them eagerly accepted this worship. However, they were scared of the Rishi and made up their minds to depart quickly. O Brahmana, take these best of fruits from us. May you be fortunate. Accept them and eat them without any delay. Full of delight, all of them embraced him. They gave him many kinds of wonderful sweetmeats to eat. The energetic one ate them, taking them to be fruits. Having always resided in the forest, he had never tasted anything like this before. They told the Brahmana that they had their vows to tend to, and took his leave. The women were terrified of the father and desired to leave the spot. When they had all left, the Brahmana, who was Kashyapa's descendant, was miserable and did not feel well. His heart was in a whirl. Right? After some time, the valiant one went to the spot where the delightful and ornamented courtesans could be seen. On seeing the Brahmana arrive, they were delighted in their minds. All of them surrounded him and spoke these words: O amiable one, come to our hermitage. There will be special and wonderful rituals there. He heard all their words pleasing to the heart. He made up his mind to go, and the women took him away. When the great souled Brahmana was thus brought, okay, the god suddenly showered down and delighted the world. So 123 to Anga. So that's what it says, when was thus brought to Anga. Anga is the place. Okay. The god suddenly showered down and delighted the world. When the Brahmana arrived in his kingdom with the rains, The king advanced to worship the sage, bowing his head down on the ground. So the king there is Romapada. Okay, Romapada is the king there in Anga. Okay, controlled as is proper, he offered him arghya. Arghya is basically an offering, that you give like Nevedyam, sort of that. So arghya is that. He sought the favor of that Indra among Brahmanas, in particular from the anger the Brahmana would be overwhelmed with. Okay, here meaning Vibhandaka, the Brahmana being referred to here at 125 is Vibhandaka. He made him enter the inner quarters and followed the prescribed rites, bestowed his daughter Shanta on him. Okay, so the king obtained peace of mind. 126. There is, since peace is Shanti, there is a bit of pun intended there, So he gave Shanta and he got Shanti. That they're saying, right? So that's the thing, yeah. So in this way, the immensely energetic Rishishringa resided there with his wife Shanta, worshipped extremely well and with all his desires satisfied. Okay, so that's chapter 1, subchapter 9. So basically, I think the essence is that he had never seen anybody except for his father Vibhandaka, no other human being or anybody at all within a city or within the countryside also. So these courtesans were technically the first set of women that he ever saw, and they convincingly brought him to Anga and got him married to Shanta. Right. So yeah, any thoughts or anything you want to share? I'll or we can move to the chapter 1 of 10. Chapter 1, subchapter
Yeah.
10.
Just a small thing.
Yes, please.
Last class, when we discussed about this Shanta and Rishyashringa marriage,
Mm.
I thought about it a lot, and I could connect it with our discussion that we had at your house.
Nice. Okay.
So in last class, I remember Ashwatan or someone told maybe Rishyashringa, even though his name suggests very fierce, very
Mm. Horns thing.
aggressive, very
Mm.
Athara. And and when we say Shanta, it's he got Shanti after that.
Mm. Mm.
Maybe I remember you were telling how you balance it 50-50, and I was
Mm.
asking about the contribution of the
Of the
feminine. So
feminine.
you said also that that compassion even during your sadhana is very important.
Absolutely.
So when he was so yeah,
Mm.
so when he's so maybe aggressive, the only being he's met is his father. He had not met another animal
Anybody.
also. So, so when that Sri Bhava is also
Is
coming
missing.
into
Yeah,
him,
yeah,
and
yeah.
he,
It was
yeah,
correct.
and it's balancing, and then he
Makes sense.
becomes at peace and
Makes
that.
sense.
So,
Makes sense. Makes sense. Alva.
yeah,
Till then, the Purusha element in him is very high. So Shanta
correct.
entering in his life as his wife sort of comes to balance those energies of Purushatvam and Stritvam. Yeah. Very nice. Very nice observation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Yeah.
There is one more thing.
Mm.
Arghya means you are giving water for drinking kind of thing.
ಲೈಕ್ ಬೆಳಗ್ಗೆ
Um,
ಸೂರ್ಯನಿಗೆ ಕೊಡೋದು ಅರ್ಘ್ಯ ಮಾಡೋದು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರಲ್ಲ
ha,
ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್
ha.
ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್
And the other one is not Padya, it is Padya.
ಪಾದ್ಯ ಓ ಡಿಡ್ ಐ ರೇಟ್ as ಪಾದ್ಯ ಯಾ ಸಾರಿ ಪಾದ್ಯ ಓಕೆ
Padya
At the
means you
Kali
are
Neer.
giving water to wash the feet.
ಫೀಟ್ ಓಕೆ
Uh,
ಪಾದ್ಯ ಪಾದ್ಯ ನೈಸ್ ನೈಸ್ ನೈಸ್
and what is Achamana? I don't know. I get confused.
ಆಚಮನಿ
Achamana
ಅಂದ್ರೆ
is what we do. Rigvedaya Swaha, Yajurvedaya Swaha, Samvedaya Swaha. We take a small
ಸ್ವಾಮಿದು ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಡ್ರಿಂಕ್ ಇಟ್ನ ಅದು
amount of water and we take it like Aposhana, like this.
Okay. Uh,
It's like I
That
don't know
is
if
Achamana.
you should tell me, Ashwath. I mean, you're offering that amount of water as an offering to that deity through you. So you are like the medium, and you're offering it to.
I actually don't know the significance of Achamana.
Hmm.
But Arghya is what we offer like this
Ah, ಒಂಥರ ಕೆರೆ
with both
ಒಳಗಡೆ
the
ನಿಂತ್ಕೊಂಡು
hands.
ಸೂರ್ಯನ
hmm.
ಕೊಡ್ತೀವಲ್ಲ ಆ ಥರ ಸೊ
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
ಕೆರೆಯ
Facing the
ನೀರನ್ನು
sun
ಕೆರೆಗೆ
and
ಚೆಲ್ಲಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ಯಾ ಯಾ
yeah.
ಯಾ
And Padya is when we wash the
ಫೀಟ್
feet.
ಓಕೆ ಓಕೆ
Yeah.
ನೈಸ್
Okay.
ಶೋರ್ ಆಲ್ ರೈಟ್ ಕವಿತಾಜಿ ನಮಸ್ತೆ ವೆಲ್ಕಮ್ ವೆಲ್ಕಮ್
Namaste. Sorry, late I
ನೋ
to
ಬ್ರೋ ನೋ ಬ್ರೋ
not in stage.
No problem, no problem.
Okay.
Chapter 1 of 9 mugito, chapter 1, subchapter 10 niga. Okay,
Fine,
yeah,
fine.
all
Okay.
right. So, chapter 1, subchapter 10. O Indra among kings. So, here, 127, the king is Sumantra is still speaking. ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರಲ್ಲಿ. So, it is Sumantra only who is still speaking from the previous chapter. Okay. O Indra among kings, listen yet again to my beneficial words. This is what the intelligent one, foremost among gods. So, here, gods is Sanat Kumara. 128 is Sanat Kumara. Okay, this is what the intelligent one, foremost among gods, had said. A king named Dasharatha will be born in the lineage of Ikshvaku. He will be extremely devoted to Dharma. He will be handsome and truthful to his vows. That king will be friendly with the king of Anga. He will have an extremely fortunate daughter named Shanta. So, their text footnote is the text leaves this vague enough for the he to be interpreted as either Dasharatha or Romapada. Both hante. Okay. So, Anga's son will be the king who will be spoken of as Romapada. So, Anga 130. This Anga means Romapada's father. Okay. Anga's son will be a king who will be spoken of as Romapada. The immensely illustrious king Dasharatha will go to him and say, O one with dharma in your soul, I am without son. For the sake of my sacrifice, grant me Shanta's husband. For the sake of a son and for the sake of the lineage, he will preside over the sacrifice. The king who will be controlled will hear these words and think about them in his mind about granting Shanta's husband for the sake of obtaining a son. He will grant him, and devoid of anxiety, the king will receive the Brahmana. The king there is Dasharatha, 131. Okay. Delighted in his mind, he will make arrangements for the sacrifice. Desiring to perform the sacrifice, King Dasharatha, knowledgeable about dharma, will join his hands in salutation and request Rishishringa, foremost among Brahmanas. For the sake of the sacrifice, for the sake of sons, and for the sake of heaven, the Lord of men and the Lord of the earth will have his desire satisfied by that foremost among Brahmanas. He will have four sons, infinite in valor. They will establish lineages and will be famous in all the worlds. This is what the illustrious Lord Sanat Kumara, foremost among gods, told in an account in an ancient time during Deva Yuga. So, obviously, another name for Krita Yuga, the 132. Okay. O great king, let that tiger among men be honored well and brought here. You should yourself go with your army and mounts. Having heard the Suta's words and having obtained Vasishta's permission, he, that is Dasharatha, left for where that Brahmana was with the residents of his inner quarters and his advisors. They gradually passed over forests and rivers. They entered the country where that bull among sages was. He approached that best among Brahmanas seated near Romapada. He saw the Rishi's son who blazed like a fire. On seeing the king followed the proper rites and worshipped him. Again, Dasharatha and Romapada, respectively, both 134. On seeing the king, so that is on seeing Romapada, Dasharatha followed the proper rites and worshipped him. Okay. Romapada told the intelligent Rishi's son and about their friendship and relationship, and he also worshipped him. 135 is Rishi Shringa also worshipped Dasharatha. Okay. Honored extremely well in this way, the bull among men spent some time there. After having spent 7 or 8 days there, the king told the king, O king, O Lord of the earth, let your daughter Shanta and her husband come to my city. There is the task of a great sacrifice to be performed. Hearing this, the intelligent king agreed to the idea of their traveling there and spoke these words, O Brahmana, go there with your wife. The Rishi's son agreed with what the king had said. Having taken the king's permission, he left with his wife. The valiant Dasharatha and Romapada were delighted. They joined their hands in salutation and affectionately embraced each other. Having taken leave of his well wisher, that is Romapada, the descendant of the Raghu lineage departed. He sent along swift messengers ahead to inform the citizens. Swiftly make arrangements for the city to be decorated in every possible way. The citizens were delighted to hear that the king was arriving. They made all the arrangements as the king's messengers had conveyed. Placing the bull among Brahmanas ahead of him, and to the sound of the blaring of conch shells and the beating of drums, the king entered the ornamented city. On seeing the Brahmana, everyone in the city was delighted. When the Indra among men, that is Dasharatha, with deeds to rival those of Indra, entered, he was honored extremely well. He made him enter the inner quarters and following the sacred texts worshipped him. That is Rishishringa. He made Rishishringa enter the inner quarters. Having brought him there, he thought that his task had already been accomplished. All those in the inner quarters saw that the large eyed Shanta had arrived there with her husband. They were filled with joy. She was honored by them, especially by the king. With the Brahmana, she happily resided there for a while. Okay, it was chapter 1, subchapter 10. So, yeah, again, so here Dasharatha is getting Rishashringa to his kingdom to have all these rituals and sacrifices to be done, right? So, can we contemplate on the philosophy of that? So one insight Rashmi also has got was that Rishashringa was hugely with the Purusha element in him, and Shanta comes in to balance the Stritvam, the Stri element. So Ardhanarishwara. So just for the context of others, what this particular discussion is about is every man and woman has Purushatvam and Stritvam in different proportions in them. Right? Somebody may have 70% Purusha. A man, for example, may have 70% Purusha and 30% Stritvam. Okay, that does not mean that this does not have anything to do with the biology of a man and woman. Okay, it is to do with the characteristic traits of a man and woman. Okay, we did discuss this in the very first one of the first sessions itself, that Purushatvam is to do with detachment and courage and willpower and your ability to keep distractions away. The staying detached from bondages, all of these traits are categorized as Purushatva characteristics. And attachment and compassion, love, nurturing, protection, so all of these things are taken as Stritvam characteristics, right? So we can have a man who is 60% feminine and 40% masculine also. That's also possible. We've also been seeing, especially if you took sporting events, the women's sports, we might be able to see where there are women who have maybe 65% man and 35% woman, right? Although biologically she is a woman, by characteristics she might be a man, right? So more resilience, more willpower, more courage, all of those things. So that's what we are referring to. Now a perfect combination is 50-50, right? Somebody who is 50% man and 50% woman. Again, I'm repeating, not biologically, right? Psychologically. So psychologically or spiritually, philosophically, spiritually, if somebody is
Can we say and this feminine energy and masculine energy
yes,
to
both
put
the
it?
both energies, they manifest into qualities and characteristics. Yeah, you're right in mentioning energies. Yes. So if somebody is perfectly 50-50, like not even like 49.9 and 50.1, right? If they're exactly 50 and 50, that is the Ardhanarishwara. Shiva and Parvati in their finest union, right? If when we consider Shiva as 100% masculine and Parvati as 100% feminine, when they come together, they become 50-50, and it's not like the 50-50 becomes 100. the discussion I was having with Rashmi couple of weeks back is when a perfect combination of man and woman comes together, they sort of, it's like plus one and minus one. When two integers are brought together, they cancel out and become zero, right? So there is nothing left there. There is no masculinity or femininity left there. So Ardhanarishwara, if you ask, what is their split, it's not 50-50, rather Ardhanarishwara is one big zero, right? So we can take it because they perfectly cancel out each other's. So the compassion is probably cancelled out by the courage, and there is nothing there, right? So now if you ask, is Ardhanarishwara compassionate or courageous? Is Ardhanarishwara attached or detached? Right? They're nothing. They're because they've cancelled out each other, so they're nothing. Right? So it is the nothingness. The Ardhanarishwara is perfect sync. So now if we are coming back to Rishishringa and Shanta getting married, and Dasharatha is getting them to Ayodhya to have his rituals performed. What do you think we can draw out of that as a correlation with our own psychology or philosophy? Any thoughts on that? Dasharatha again is a symbolism of dharma. He's somebody who adhered to dharma 100%. So before Rama can enter into the picture, the perfect embodiment of dharma was Dasharatha. We also discussed the Dasharatha meanings of Pancha Jnanendriyas and Karmendriyas put together being 10, or one who had control over the 10 directions. Right? So he was a perfect dharmic person, so called. Now he is getting Rishishringa and Shanta, trying to bring them into a perfect harmony to get some rituals done. What do you think some insights can be about that? What can we sort of decipher from that? And Prashna, I hope my question was not too complicated. Was it understandable? Then again, I started contemplating, okay, did I complicate the question? Dasharatha
No.
got.
Can you
Uh,
repeat that now?
so Dasharatha, being the perfect embodiment of dharma, got
Dharma.
Rishishringa, who was very high on masculine energy. He got him along with his wife Shanta, who was very high on feminine energy. He got them, to his kingdom to perform certain rituals in order to get sons. What does this convey to us? What is this scientifically, neuroscientifically, or philosophically, or psychologically? Can we draw parallels? What is it trying to convey?
No, did they say that Shanta is completely feminine in her nature?
Yeah, she was completely. Uh, sh- Shanta, it's the name itself is peace, Salva. The name itself means peace, compassion. So she
ಅಂದ್ರೆ
was.
ಅವ್ರು ಹೇಳಲಿಲ್ಲ, ಬಟ್ ಅದು ಅವಳು ಬಂದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಅವನಿಗೆ ಶಾಂತಿ ಬಂತು ಅಂತ
ಅಂತ
ಹೇಳಿದಾಗ ವಿ ಆರ್
ಹೇಳ್ತಾರ, ಹಾ
ಥಿಂಕಿಂಗ್
ಹಾ ಹಾ, ಯಾ ಅಲ್ವಾ.
ಅವನಿಗೆ ಶಾಂತಿ ಬಂತು
He
ಅಂತ
gave Shanta and got Shanti in there. Yeah, ಅಲ್ವಾ? Yeah, correct.
But I mean, uh, it's okay if they didn't say she's completely feminine or anything. Anyway, it's our own interpretation.
Yeah, I mean, so necessarily they didn't become Ardhanarishwara also. Just because
Yeah, that's
Rishishringa
right.
married her, they didn't become Ardhanarishwara. But what is the essence? I mean, why couldn't Dasharatha just hire any rishi out there to do the Ashwamedha Yaga? Why did he have to get Rishishringa only?
There's one more thing.
Hmm.
Whenever I was just thinking,
Hmm.
whenever everyone reads the same thing,
Hmm.
everyone observes a different point or a different way of looking
Hmm.
based on their own
Hmm.
experiences. And I was recently reading something and I thought, is it possible for me to ever know how the person who's written it thought
Was
and wrote?
thinking, yeah. Huh.
It's not possible at all.
Hmm.
ನಾನು ನಂದೇ ಒಂದು ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ಐ ವಿಲ್ ರೀಡ್
Hmm.
ರಾಹುಲ್ ಚಿಕ್ಕ will read in his way, Ashwatthana will read in his way,
Hmm.
and when we discuss, maybe we get more
Thoughts,
perspectives
yeah,
like that. But
possibilities.
what Valmiki had actually thought and wrote,
Hmm.
we can never actually
Correct, correct,
get
correct.
that.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
whenever I mean, just by the discussion, I always look at ways that maybe connect to how I can show this in a performance or something like that.
Hmm. Hmm.
Rahul Chikka always sees what is the thing in our own body that we can relate to.
Correct,
Someone
correct.
else sees it in some other way.
Mm, mm.
So I don't know if we can ever get it
Very
exactly
nice.
how they have
Oh,
written.
absolutely. You're so right. You're so right. There is no one fixed interpretation at all. ಅದ ಅಮರ ಕೋಶದಲ್ಲೂ every word has how many some 100 meanings. Each word has 100 meanings ಅಲ್ವಾ. So if an Anushtup Shanta shloka had, let's assume it had some 7 words, right? So or 8 words. Well, so you can, if we took something like the Bhagavad Gita first shloka, Dharma Kshetre, Kurukshetre, Samaveta, Yuyutsavaha, Mamakaha, Pandavascheva, Kimakurvada, Sanjaya. So there are 8 words in it. If 8 words had 100 meanings each, so there are 800 meanings, that can be derived out of that. Not even 800. It will be 800 into 800 into 800 8 times. Alva, because if you do permutation and combination, so tale ಕೆಟ್ಟೋಗುತ್ತೆ. But yeah, so whatever is the most meaningful one that we can take for our well-being, I think we can just take it for our shanti. So
Correct.
We can interpret. We will never know what he meant.
yeah, it may match somewhere
But
like a
I
like a
think
radio
that's the
tune.
uniqueness and beauty of our Bhagavad Gita, Ramayana, and all, right?
Absolutely,
Depending on your context in life,
exactly,
you can use it in that one. So maybe
absolutely.
what a drunkard would think of when he listens to this will be very different
Yeah,
from maybe a lady who is struggling with a small child.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it is all situation and our mind in that situation, how
Absolutely,
we take it.
absolutely. No, I mean, well, instead of looking at two different people, also, when if I read this when I'm happy, as opposed to
Ah,
me reading this when I'm sad, I myself can have
right,
different interpretations, right? So,
right,
yeah,
right.
I don't know how many of us here have got the chance to read the entire Bhagavad Gita, but I for those of you who've not done that, I can vouch and mention that you will feel at one point of time in one particular question that Arjuna asks Krishna in out of all the 18 chapters, you will experience one or two particular shlokas. You will experience this feeling, how did Arjuna know I had this question in my mind? ಏನೋ ಎಕ್ಸಾಕ್ಟ್ಲಿ ಇದೇ ಕ್ವಶನ್ ನನ್ನ ತಲೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಓಡ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತು ನನಗೆ ಅವ್ನು ಅರ್ಜುನಂಗೆ ಹೆಂಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿತ್ತು ನಾನು ಇದನ್ನು ಥೌಸಂಡ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಯರ್ಸ್ ಲೇಟರ್ ಐ ವಿಲ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ದಿಸ್ ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಅಂತ ಹೌ ಡಿಡ್ ಅರ್ಜುನ ನೋ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ ದೆನ್ ಅಂತ ಯು ವಿಲ್ ಫೀಲ್ right. For me it might be chapter 13 shloka number 16. For somebody it might be chapter 17 shloka number 3. We don't know, right? So but one shloka will hit you, it will strike a chord with you, right? So that is
Actually, when I was reading the Mahabharata, the opening shloka, everyone might know this. Narayanam namaskritya,
Kritya,
naram chaiva
Shiva
narottamam.
Narottamam, huh.
So we also pray to Arjuna, the Nara.
Nara, huh.
Many people say that Nara and Narottama both are Krishna. But I like to take the version where they say that Nara is Arjuna. He represents every human actually.
Every human, yeah, correct, Jivatma.
Correct. So that every human, so all his questions are all the questions that we humans actually get.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. If 8 billion people on earth read the Bhagavad Gita, everybody would feel, I had this question too, how did he know? ಆ ಒಂದು ಥಾಟ್ ಬಂದೇ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. That is my experience with that, yeah. ಆ ಥರ. Right. So I think, I mean, yeah, if we look at it on a broad perspective, so Rishishringa and Dasharatha here is the perfect embodiment of dharma. He's a kshatriya also, alva. So he's not allowed to do yajnas, alva. He's not allowed to himself do yajnas as that which a brahmana does, for example. Right. So he needed a brahmana with probably the right energies because he wanted a son, alva. A putra kameshti yajna ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ. So he wanted the best of sons, so maybe he wanted the perfect balance of energies in his sons. And is that why he wanted Rishishringa and Shanta, the combination that way?
Or,
Hmm.
or because they have the perfect balance and that's why they're capable of doing such a yaga
No,
also.
they're capable of doing such a yaga. Yeah. Atara, right? So,
And Rishashringa, the way they depicted Rishashringa,
hmm.
he is kind of like very pure, not polluted by anything outside.
Absolutely, yeah, yeah. Huh.
Like he
Epigenetics,
is
ado.
in his
Huh.
pure nature,
Correct, correct.
residing in the forest.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that actually, neuroscientifically, we can draw parallels to what Ashwath mentioned. The subject called epigenetics. Epigenetics is how genetic information gets transferred from generation to generation, right? So if let's imagine my parents were extremely calm people, and I am an overly aggressive guy. Everybody keeps wondering, his parents are such polite and calm people. Why is he so aggressive? Then you get to know maybe one of my father's grandfather or my mother's great grandfather, one of them was very angry, and that gene passed through, and it got activated in me, right? So it could be a negative trait or it could be a positive trait also. Like for example, so maybe my parents might never be knowledgeable in music, but I am knowledgeable in music, and I get to know that my mother was knowledgeable in music, and nobody knew about it for a very long time, right? So genetic transfers sada. So maybe Rishishringa and Shanta have no negatives in them as such. So so the children born out of them will also not have any negative transfers, anta. Yeah, what Ashwath mentioned does make sense. Yeah, right.
Maybe I mean I was thinking,
Hmm.
I mean even in Mahabharata we see Drupada going to so many rishis
Hmm.
and asking to do the yaga
Hmm.
because he wants a son.
Correct.
Whenever he goes to many rishis, they say we can't do it because we don't have enough punya for that or
Hmm.
whatever.
Hmm.
So they go to a particular rishi finally, and then he agrees to do it.
Okay.
So in the same way, only a person has such balanced energies,
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
can take punya papa whatever
Hmm.
in that way or in such way. Very spiritually enlightened person, a very great rishi,
Hmm.
has the capability to do such a yaga.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Very
that's what.
nice. Very nice. Yeah. Alva. So different thought processes. Very nice. Yeah. Okay. It's 147. I mean, sorry, 948. I'm just looking at this, the length of chapter 11. ಚಿಕ್ಕದಿದೆ ಮುಗಿಸ್ಬೇಡವಾ? Just 2 pages. Shall we finish it off for the day?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Chapter 1, subchapter 11. So, after several days had passed, the extremely pleasant season of spring presented itself, and the king made up his mind to undertake the sacrifice. He bowed his head down before the Brahmana, which is Rishishringa, whose complexion was like that of the gods, and sought his favors. For the sake of sons and the lineage, he requested him to be the officiating priest at the sacrifice. Honored extremely well, he agreed to the king's words. Let the requisite objects be brought, and let the horse be released. So they release the footnote 140. It is spoken by Rishishringa. In a horse sacrifice, a horse is released, left free to wander around. When the horse wanders into another king's kingdom, that king seizes the horse and provokes a battle or accepts vassalage. Okay, vassalage is agreeing to be a what do you call that? What do you call that word? He agrees to be what is that word I'm looking for?
Under maybe
Under him,
under.
he agrees to accept that king as his ruler. Atra, that is vassalage, right? When the triumphant horse eventually returns, it is sacrificed. I still don't know what is the purpose of killing the horse. I don't know, but yeah, that was the practice. Maybe we'll figure out why that was also done. Okay, so he says, "Let the requisite objects be brought and let the horse be released." The king spoke the following words to Sumantra, supreme among ministers. Okay, O Sumantra, quickly invite officiating priests who are knowledgeable about the Brahman. The Brahman or Paramatman is the supreme soul. Oh, Brahman, it's not Brahman, Brahman. Okay, so the Brahman or Paramatman is the supreme soul. Though Rishishringa was the chief officiating priest, there were other officiating priests too. Okay, so Sumantra, swift in his valor, departed quickly. He brought all the Brahmanas who were accomplished in the Vedas, Suyagnya, Vamadeva, I don't know how to read that, Javali or Javali, Kashyapa, the priest Vasishta, and other supreme Brahmanas. King Dasharatha, with dharma in his soul, worshipped them. He gently spoke these words full of dharma and artha. My mind is not at peace. There is no happiness without a son. That is the reason I have made up my mind to undertake a horse sacrifice. I wish to perform that sacrifice in accordance with the rites laid down in the sacred texts. Through the powers of the Rishi's son, that is Rishi Shringa, I hope to accomplish my desire. All the Brahmanas, with Vasishta at the forefront, praised the undecaying words that had emerged from the king's mouth and honored the king back. With Rishishringa at the forefront, they told the king, let all the necessary objects be brought and let the horse be released. By all means, you will obtain 4 infinitely valorous sons. Because your mind has turned towards Dharma, those sons will arrive. On hearing the words that the Brahmanas had spoken, the king was delighted. Filled with joy because of those auspicious words, the king told the advisers, obeying the words of the preceptors, let all the necessary objects be brought quickly. Let the horse be released, guarded adequately and followed by preceptors. Let the sacrificial arena be marked out on the northern banks of the Sarayu. Following the ordinances laid down in the sacred texts, let peace prosper. This is the supreme sacrifice. This is the supreme sacrifice. If all the kings are capable of performing this sacrifice without any hindrances, they do not suffer from any hardships. The learned Brahma Rakshasas, 143, is Brahmanas who become Rakshasas after death. Oh, I had heard of them, but I didn't know this was what it is. Brahma Rakshasas. Brahmanas who become Rakshasas after death. Interesting. Okay, the learned Brahma Rakshasas always seek out weaknesses. If the ordinances are not observed, the performer of a sacrifice is always destroyed. Therefore, let the sacrifice be completed in accordance with the prescribed ordinances. All of you are capable of acting in accordance with the ordinances. All the ministers agreed to this and honored him back. They followed the king's words exactly as they had been instructed. All the Brahmanas also granted permission to that bull among kings who knew about Dharma and returned to wherever they had come from. When the Brahmanas had departed, the Lord of Men also allowed the ministers to leave. The immensely radiant one entered his own abode. Okay. Yeah. I think we can stop at that. Alva, chapter 1, subchapter 11. Yeah. Any thoughts or questions or anything? I think it's going well, Anshadalva. So I think we are progressing at a good pace. So yeah, I would want to cover more though.
Yeah, Ashwamedha Yaga,
Hmm.
when they do it,
Hmm.
are the other kings supposed to agree the subordinates of the king who is doing, or they just have to offer tax or kappa or something?
Agree subordinates.
Agree subordinates.
If they stop the
Means,
Ashra, that means they don't agree the other king being superior and they have to fight the war.
Hmm.
okay.
So if
Then,
he gets into war someday and if they are called upon, then they have to come to help also.
correct. So, see, in that they mentioned if every king who made this Ashwamedha Yaga and were not obstructed, then peace would come, something like that.
Ah.
Means if every king made this Ashwamedha Yaga,
Everybody is accepting everybody as subordinate.
yeah, and there is no,
No ruler. There is
yeah,
or,
correct,
or everyone is a ruler. Yeah.
yeah. So what is it actually? It's a bit
I maybe we
confusing.
want to check either you accepted that the person is either maybe befriend the person or become their subordinate. Definitely not opposing it. Alva. So I might, well, let's check that. Maybe that's a good question. So maybe I need not bow down to the other king, but I might say, I'm not going to reject peace with you. I'm going to be with peace with you. I might not accept you as a superior, but I'm going to treat you as my equal. And I'm not going to
Friends.
wage war with you. Let's be friends. ಅದು ಇರ್ಬೋದೇನೋ
Yeah,
ಅಲ್ವಾ.
also that, but
ಹಾಂ
according when I have seen, there are actually rules where when I've read in some places, if you do like 25 Ashwamedha yagas, you're this.
ಹ್ಞೂ ಹ್ಞೂ ಹ್ಞೂ
75. And once you do 100 Ashwamedha yagas,
ಹ್ಞೂ
you get Indra Padavi.
ಹ್ಞೂ
So there are so many stories where Indra is scared to lose his position and he
ಹ್ಞೂ
stops kings from doing
ಫ್ರಮ್
100
ಡೂಯಿಂಗ್ ಇಟ್. ಯಾ
Ashwamedha
ಯಾ ಹಾಂ
yagas.
ಹಾಂ ಗಾಟ್ ಇಟ್ ಗುಡ್ ಹಾಂ.
Yeah. So, I mean, I was thinking, and also when we read so many stories of people who have done 100 Ashwamedha yagas,
ಹ್ಞೂ
they're not in the same time actually. There's
ಓ
Nahusha and then there's Pururavas.
ಹ್ಞೂ
So they're like a few generations apart.
ಹ್ಞೂ
So probably it's also that they are superior, or like they're a little, everyone accepts them as the Chakravarti kind of.
ಗಾಟ್ ಇಟ್ ಗಾಟ್ ಇಟ್.
ಚಕ್ರವರ್ತಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ
ಹಾಂ
ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಹೈಯರ್ ಪೊಸಿಷನ್ ಇದೆ ಈ
ಇದೆ
ರಾಜನಿಗೆ
ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ
ಅಂತ.
ಅಂತ. ಬಟ್
Or
ಅಶ್ವಥ್ ಕ್ವೆಶ್ಚನ್ ದರ್, ಎಲ್ಲರೂ
yeah.
ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಅದನ್ನು ಹೂ ಇಸ್
ಹಾ
ಇದಂತ
ಅದೇ, ಬಟ್ ವಿ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಸಿ ಇಫ್ ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಮಾಡಿದಾರ ಅಂತ,
ಇಲ್ಲ
ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ
ಅಂತ.
ನಾನ್ ಓದಿರೋದು ಅಷ್ಟು ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ.
ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್.
ಅದೇ ಕಾಲಘಟ್ಟದ ರಾಜರು, ದೇರ್ ಇಸ್ ಒನ್ ಆರ್ ಟೂ ಹೂ ಡೂ ಲೈಕ್ 100 ಅಶ್ವಮೇಧ ಯಾಗಾಸ್ ಅಂಡ್
ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್.
ಗೆಟ್ ದಟ್ ಪೊಸಿಷನ್.
ಹಾಂ
ಆರ್ ಮೇ ಬಿ ಇಫ್ ದೇರ್ ಸೇಯಿಂಗ್ ಸಮ್ವೇರ್ ಇಫ್ ಎವ್ರಿ ಒನ್ ಶುಡ್ ಡೂ, ದೆನ್ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ಶಿಪ್, ಆ ಥರನೂ ತಗೋಬಹುದು.
ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್.
ಯಾ
ಮೇಕ್ ಸೆನ್ಸ್ ಮೇಕ್ ಸೆನ್ಸ್.
Nausha gets Inder Padavi and he gets cursed, Allah.
Yeah. No, then he becomes arrogant after getting Indra Padavi.
Yeah, yeah.
After
He'll be
getting
hiding in a lotus stack or something.
ನಹುಷನ
I vaguely remember something.
No, Nahusha ಏನಾಗತ್ತಂದ್ರೆ, he'll do 100 Ashwamedha yagas, he'll get Indra Padavi. Indra will not be in Indra Loka that time, he'll be doing somewhere tapas. Because he had killed Vritrasura. For getting the, all the papa away, he'll be doing tapas. And Nahusha will get Indra Padavi that time. But after some time, he gets Ahankara after getting Indra Padavis. And then he wants to meet Shachi Devi. Because he's Indra, he wants Indra's wife. So, and then apparently he calls the Sapta Rishis to carry his pallaki for him to go meet Shachi Devi. So, Shachi Devi will smartly tell Agastya to go stand in the front. And Agastya kullakidanalva, ಎಲ್ಲ ಸಪ್ತ ಋಷಿಗಳಲ್ಲಿ. ಸೊ ಅಗಸ್ತ್ಯ ಕುಳ್ಳಕ್ಕಿದ್ದರಿಂದ ಒಂದ್ ಕಡೆ ವಾಲ್ತಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಇವನಿಗೆ ಸಿಟ್ಟು ಬಂದು ಅಗಸ್ತ್ಯಂಗ್ ಬೈತಾನೆ. ದೆನ್ ಅಗಸ್ತ್ಯ ವಿಲ್ ಗೆಟ್ ಆಂಗ್ರಿ, ಅವನಿಗೆ ಶಾಪ ಕೊಡ್ತಾನೆ, ಯು ಬಿಕಮ್ ಸರ್ಪ ಅಂತ. So that's the story actually. I mean, I don't know. I've never thought deeply about the story, but that's the story.
Okay. I'm just reading about Ashwamedha Yaga on ChatGPT. ದೊಡ್ಡ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲನೇಷನ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದೆ ಅದು. ಸೊ ಬಟ್ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಐದರ್ ಎಕ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ದ ಅದರ್ ಪರ್ಸನ್ ಟು ಬಿ ದ ಸಾವರಿನ್ ರೂಲರ್ ಆರ್ ವೇಜ್ ವಾರ್ ಅಂತಲೇ ಇರೋದು.
ಅದೇ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಲೈಕ್ ಚಕ್ರವರ್ತಿ ಸ್ಥಾನ ತಗೊಳ್ಳೋದು ಅಂತ.
ಚಕ್ರವರ್ತಿ.
ಬಟ್ ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಮಾಡಲ್ಲ, ಅದೇ ನಾನು ಹೇಳ್ತಿರೋದು. ಒಂದೇ ಕಾಲಘಟ್ಟದಲ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಮಾಡಿರೋದು ಇಲ್ಲ. ದೇರ್ಸ್ ನೋ ಸ್ಟೋರಿ ಲೈಕ್ ದಟ್.
I think maybe I'll read about it a little bit more, and we'll discuss that and so.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice. Good. I think we are bang on time, exactly 10 o'clock. Yeah. Okay. Chapter. So we stopped at chapter
11.
1, subchapter 11. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll start from 1:12 next. Okay. Perfect. All right. Yes. So we'll wind up with the Shanti shlokas. Rashmi.
ನಾನು ಹೇಳ್ಬೇಕಾ? ಸಹನಾ
ಭವತು ಸತೋಮ ಸದ್ಗಮಯ ಸರ್ವೇ ಭವಂತು ಸುಖಿನಃ.
ಓಂ ಸಹನಾವವತು ಸಹನೌ ಭುನಕ್ತು ಸಹ ವೀರ್ಯಂ ಕರವಾವಹೈ ತೇಜಸ್ವಿನಾವಧೀತವಸ್ತು ಮಾ ವಿದ್ವಿಷಾವಹೈ. ಓಂ ಶಾಂತಿ ಶಾಂತಿ ಶಾಂತಿ. सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्.
लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु. हरिः ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः. हरिः ॐ. All right, thank you all.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Navneeta,
Thank you.
no questions. You didn't find any questions from you today. Navneeta?
Who's that, Ram?
Didn't have any questions from you today.
It's the time of the
Time
day.
of the day. You're questioning the time of the day. Anyway. Akshay had also
Okay.
joined. ನಾನು ಅದನ್ನ ನೋಡಿಲ್ಲ, ಗಮನಿಸಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಅಕ್ಷಯ್ ಹೇಗಿದೆಪ್ಪ?
ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿದೆ.